What happens when one of the biggest pop stars in the world walks onto a morning show stage expecting respect and walks off in tears after being ambushed by questions she never agreed to answer? In just 28 seconds, Savannah Guthrie went from America's trusted morning host to the woman who made Britney Spears storm off set in front of millions of viewers. The Today Show studio was buzzing that morning. Britney Spears was scheduled to talk about her new music, her upcoming tour, and her return to the spotlight. The pop icon walked onto the set wearing a simple black dress, her blonde hair pulled back, looking nervous but excited. She hugged Savannah Guthrie, waved to Hoda Kotb and Craig Melvin sitting on the panel, and settled into the couch with a shy smile. "Welcome back, Britney," Savannah said, her voice dripping with that polished morning television sweetness. "It is so good to see you." "Thank you for having me," Britney replied softly. "I am really excited to be here." The first few minutes seemed normal enough. Savannah asked about the new album, about what inspired Britney to return to music after taking time away. Britney lit up talking about the creative process, about working with new producers, about feeling free to make the music she wanted to make. Hoda nodded along encouragingly from her seat. Craig smiled and asked a question about the tour dates. Then everything shifted. "Britney, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people are curious about," Savannah said, leaning forward with that investigative reporter look she saves for the tough interviews. "Your personal life has been, let us say, complicated over the years." Britney's smile faded slightly. "Well, I am here to talk about my music," she said carefully. Of course, Savannah said, waving her hand dismissively. "But you have to understand. People want to know. They feel invested in your story. They have watched you grow up in the public eye." "I appreciate that," Britney said, her voice quieter now. "But today, I really just want to focus on the album." Savannah ignored her completely. "Let me ask you this. Do you think you were a good mother during those difficult years?" The studio went silent. Hoda's eyes widened. Craig shifted uncomfortably in his chair. A producer off camera could be heard dropping something. Britney stared at Savannah, her mouth slightly open. "Excuse me?" "Your children," Savannah pressed on, went as if she was asking about the weather. "Do you think you set a good example for them? Because a lot of mothers out there are wondering how you could let things get so out of control." "I did not come here to talk about my children," Britney said, her voice shaking now. "That was not part of the agreement." "But Britney," Savannah said with mock concern, "if you want people to support your comeback, don't you think you owe them some answers? Some accountability?" Hoda jumped in, trying to salvage the situation. "Savannah, maybe we should get back to the music. Britney, tell us about the first single." No, Hoda, hold on," Savannah said, actually holding up her hand to silence her co-host. "This is important. Britney, I have to ask, and I think our viewers deserve to know. Do you think you are mentally stable enough to be doing this? To be performing again? To be in the spotlight?" Britney's face went pale. "What did you just say to me?" "I am just asking what everyone is thinking," Savannah said with a shrug, as if she had just asked the most reasonable question in the world. "You had a very public breakdown. You were hospitalized. You lost custody of your children. Now you are back, and you are asking people to buy concert tickets and albums. Don't they have a right to know if you are, okay?" Craig Melvin spoke up. "Savannah, this feels like it is crossing a line." "It is a fair question, Craig," Savannah snapped back at him. "We are journalists. We ask hard questions." Britney stood up, unclipping her microphone. "I am not doing this." "Oh, come on, Britney, sit down," Savannah said, laughing in a way that made it clear she thought Britney was being overdramatic. "You can't run away every time someone asks you a tough question. That's a part of being a professional." "A tough question?" Britney's voice was rising now, the tears starting to form in her eyes. "You just questioned my mental health on live television. You questioned my ability to be a mother. I came here to talk about my music, and you ambushed me." "I did not ambush you," Savannah said coolly. "I am doing my job. And frankly, if you cannot handle a few simple questions, maybe you are not ready to be back in the public eye." Hoda stood up now too. "Savannah, stop. This is not okay." "Stay out of this, Hoda," Savannah said without even looking at her. Then she turned back to Britney with a condescending smile. "Look, sweetie, I get it. This is hard for you, but you are not a teenager anymore. You are a grown woman, and grown women do not get to throw tantrums when they do not like what they hear." That was the breaking point. "Do not call me sweetie," Britney said, her voice sharp now, despite the tears streaming down her face. "Do not patronize me. Do not sit there and act like you have any idea what I have been through. You know nothing about my life, nothing about what I have survived." "Then tell us," Savannah said, spreading her hands wide. "That is what I am asking you to do. Tell us your side of the story." "My side?" Britney laughed bitterly. "You do not want my side. You want me to break down. You want me to cry and fall apart so you can have your viral moment. So you can be the host who finally got Britney Spears to crack." "That's not fair," Savannah said, but there was something in her eyes that suggested Britney had hit close to the truth. "You want to know if I am stable?" Britney continued, her voice getting stronger. "I am stable enough to know when someone is being cruel. I am stable enough to know when I am being disrespected. And I am stable enough to walk away from someone who is treating me like I am some kind of circus act for your ratings." Craig stood up and walked over to Britney. "You do not have to stay here. You can leave." "She signed a contract," Savannah interjected quickly. She agreed to a full segment. "I do not care about the contract," Craig said firmly. "This is wrong, Savannah. You know it is wrong." "Oh, please," Savannah rolled her eyes. "Everyone is so sensitive these days. We used to be able to ask real questions without everyone falling apart." Britney was fully sobbing now, but there was a strength in her posture as she stood there facing Savannah. "You think this makes you a good journalist? Attacking someone who came here in good faith? Making someone cry on your show? This is not journalism. This is bullying." "Bullying?" Savannah laughed, actually laughed. "Britney, honey, you are a celebrity. You make millions of dollars. You live in a mansion. You do not get to play the victim card when someone asks you a hard question." "There is a difference between a hard question and a cruel one," Hoda said quietly, but her voice was steel. "And you know it, Savannah." Savannah whipped around to face Hoda. "Since when did you become her defender? Shan, you did not even know she was coming on the show until yesterday." "I do not need to know her to know when someone is being treated unfairly," Hoda shot back. The tension in the studio was suffocating. Camera operators did not know where to point their cameras. Producers were frantically talking into their headsets. The audience, a small group seated in the studio, sat in stunned silence. Britney wiped her eyes and looked directly into the camera. "To anyone watching this, I am sorry you had to see this. I came here today with hope in my heart. I wanted to share my music with you. I wanted to share my joy. Instead, I was treated like a scandal, like a problem, like something broken that needs to be fixed or explained." "Oh, here we go," Savannah muttered. "The victim speech." "Savannah, shut up," Craig said sharply. It was shocking to hear him use that tone. Craig Melvin, always so measured and kind, was visibly angry now. Savannah's eyes went wide. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Craig said. "Just stop talking. You have done enough damage." Britney continued, her voice steady now, despite the tears. "I have spent years being told I was not good enough, not stable enough, not worthy enough. I let people make me feel small. I let people control my narrative. But I am not going to do that anymore. I am not going to sit here and let someone tear me down on national television just because they think they have the right to. I have every right, Savannah said, standing up now to match Britney's posture. I have the right to ask questions. I have the right to hold you accountable. Accountable for what? Britney shot back. For being human? For struggling? For having hard times and coming through them? What exactly do I need to be held accountable for, Savannah? For your behavior, Savannah said simply. For the things you did. The way you acted. The spectacle you made of yourself. The spectacle? Britney's voice was quiet now. Dangerously quiet. I was going through the worst time of my life. I was trapped. I was controlled. I was drowning. And people like you sat in your comfortable studios and made jokes about it. You made me into entertainment. Into a punchline. I never made jokes about you, Savannah said defensively. Maybe not out loud, Britney said. But you thought them. I could always tell who thought them. Who looked at me like I was crazy. Who looked at me like I was a lost cause. Hoda walked over and put her arm around Britney. You do not have to explain yourself to anyone, especially not here. Not like this. Yes, she does, Savannah insisted. She absolutely does. She cannot just walk back into the spotlight and expect everyone to pretend like nothing happened. I am not pretending anything, Britney said. I have never pretended. That is the whole problem. I have always been too real, too raw, too honest, and people punished me for it. You were out of control, Savannah said flatly. I was being controlled, Britney corrected her. There is a difference. Oh, come on, Savannah waved her hand. The conservatorship thing. Everyone knows about it now. You are free. You got what you wanted. So why are you still playing the victim? The words hung in the air like poison. Craig stepped between Savannah and Britney. We are done here. This interview is over. You do not get to decide that, Savannah said coldly. I am the lead anchor. And I am a human being with a conscience, Craig said, and I am telling you, this is over. A producer rushed onto the set, a younger woman with a headset and a clipboard. We need to go to commercial. Right now. No, Savannah said. We are not going to commercial. We are finishing this segment. Savannah, we are getting calls, the producer said urgently. The phones are lighting up. Social media is exploding. We need to cut away. Let them call, Savannah said dismissively. This is good television. This is not good television, Hoda said, her voice shaking with anger now. This is cruel. This is everything wrong with what we do. Britney was already walking toward the exit, her heels clicking on the studio floor. Craig followed her, as did Hoda, leaving Savannah standing alone on the set. Where are you going? Savannah called after them. We are not finished. Britney turned around one last time. Yes, we are. We are finished. I am finished letting people like you make me feel less than. I am finished giving my time and my energy to people who do not value it. I am finished. You are making a mistake, Savannah said. Walking off this show. Do you know how many people would kill for this opportunity? Then let them have it, Britney said simply. I do not want it. Not like this. Not from you. Savannah took a step toward her, and there was something almost desperate in her expression now. Britney, come on. Let us start over. We can reset. We can talk about the music like you wanted. No, Britney said firmly. You do not get to do that. What you do not get to hurt someone and then act like it did not happen. You do not get to cross every line and then pretend you can just uncross them. I was just doing my job, Savannah said, and for the first time, her voice wavered slightly. If that is your job, Britney said quietly, then you have a terrible job. The studio doors opened, and Britney walked through them, flanked by Craig and Hoda. The last image was of Savannah, standing alone on the set, the camera still rolling, capturing her stunned expression as she realized what had just happened. Behind her, the producer was yelling into her headset. Audience members were whispering to each other, some crying, some angry. The carefully constructed world of morning television had just cracked wide open, and everyone had seen it happen in real time. Savannah finally turned to face the camera. Her makeup was still perfect, her hair still in place, but something had shifted in her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, to try to salvage the moment, to spin what had just happened into something she could control. But before she could say a word, the screen cut to commercial, leaving her standing there in silence, the weight of what she had done finally starting to settle on her shoulders. The bright, cheerful jingle of a laundry detergent commercial filled the void where her voice should have been, a jarring contrast to the devastation that had just unfolded. In the hallway backstage, Britney was surrounded by her team, by Craig and Hoda, by people who were apologizing profusely for what had happened. But she stood tall, her tears drying, her breathing steadying. She had walked away. She had chosen herself, and for the first time in a very long time, that felt like enough. Back in the studio, Savannah sat down heavily in her chair. The commercial break would only last 2 minutes. Then she would have to face the cameras again, face the audience, face the millions of people who had just watched her dismantle someone on live television. She looked at her notes, at the questions she had prepared, at the narrative she had wanted to create. And for just a moment, just a flicker of a second, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she had gone too far. But then her producer was counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and the red light on the camera was blinking on again, and Savannah Guthrie did what she always did. She smiled her perfect smile, straightened her shoulders, and pretended that everything was fine. What had just happened was simply part of the job, simply the price of doing hard-hitting journalism. The show went on, but something had broken that morning, something that could not be fixed with a smooth transition or a polished apology or a carefully worded statement from the network. The mask had slipped, and everyone had seen what was underneath. Everyone had seen the cruelty dressed up as curiosity, the bullying disguised as bravery, the entertainment built on someone else's pain. And Britney Spears, the pop star who had been counted out so many times, who had been written off and dismissed and underestimated, had done something remarkable. She had said no. She had drawn a line. She had walked away from the machine that had tried to grind her down for so many years. She had chosen herself. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real story all along.